Okay, we are live. So give me just a couple minutes here. I'm going to get my life together. I apologize if you guys hear any background noise. I have the door open today because it's like 75 degrees and it's actually nice outside. So everybody and their mother will be at the park today, which is does get kind of noisy. So let me go ahead and share this in a couple places and then we'll be ready to go. I hope you guys are all having a really relaxing Sunday. Let's see here. No. I should have had this all together, but life is life. So, eventually I'll make it so I have some moderators in here. But right now it's just me. I'll have to figure out my excuse me, my StreamYard to see if it has to go through there or through um YouTube. Okay, one more second here. And then we'll talk about the parameters. If you haven't seen Friday's craft roulette. Okay. I think that's good. I think I got it shared in all of the places. Let me just double check. So many buttons to click. So many buttons to click. So hopefully the lights won't be they won't be too terrible. The one set I do have to keep on just because it'll be way too dark in here if I don't have them on. Only because I have only one of the doors open. So turn my little on-air sign on. Okay. It's kind of funny because I'm waiting on the Amazon order to get here and this still has not arrived. And I really need this order. Only because I can't fussy cut to save my life. So, oh, sorry. I need that. I had to order a new mat for my scan and cut. And they actually sent me a used mat, which drove me insane because these mats certainly are not cheap whatsoever. Move this stuff out of the way here. Okay. I'm going to try to pull up these parameters. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think I have to screen share. Let me pop up the Craft Roulette site. And go to screen share. So I've been really bad about not making my process videos only because it some of my cards just take a little bit to do, and I don't want to have everybody just waiting forever or sitting through a video forever. Trying to see here. There's parameters. Okay, so that's up. It shows all the parameters for the card for this week, which I had Emily Moore on, and she was so super sweet. I think the only thing that's throwing me off on this whole all the parameters this week is the 4 squares and how I'm going to add it into my Zoyfold, which I typically don't make. But the best thing about Craft Roulette is it pulls you outside of your box, so you're not like if you're just having a day where you just can't think of what to make. Craft Roulette really makes you think outside the box. So this might not be a super long live today just because I've done some of the stuff already. But I wanted you guys to take advantage of that code for pajama crafter stamps because it does end tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you'll get 10% off. So I want to make sure that you guys get that discount. So this was Emily's card that she had made for Craft Roulette, and she did a great job. And then I will show you Mary's card that she did. I think Mary's card is, oh, it might not be posted yet. And you don't have to be a member to post your cards. which is nice. I'm trying to watch both windows at the same time. Oh, let me scroll back down to the parameters. So these are our parameters for this week. So it's a Zoyfold for the project. The colors are Easter egg-ish colors, which can be anything. I tend to think of bright when it comes to Easter eggs, but a lot of people will use pastels or, something along those lines. So the element is seal, seals, or sealing. So that could be a wax stamp or a wax seal. It could be your adhesive. Mary does a really good job at explaining like each of the categories so that you really understand what they're looking for in the parameters. And like I said, the only thing that's throwing me off are the 4 squares, and I don't know how I'm going to add those yet. But today, excuse me. Today I'm going to be using the chugging on stamps for my Zoyfold. So I already have this done, but I'm going to show you guys how I did this one, just because it took me a minute to figure, like, my brain doesn't always compute what what it's going to look like in the end. So it's good to have like a tutorial to kind of see what it's supposed to look like or what your dimensions are and where you're supposed to score and cut. So this is just an A2 card base. I prefer to make A2s. It's just easier for me. And what I did was I took it, I opened it up, and then I scored at 2 1/8. So when I cut my panels, my pattern paper for the panels, it's going to be 2 1/16. So that way it gives me a little bit of a border around it, and it's not just completely flat on here. Okay, good. It's streaming to both YouTube and Facebook. So I'm going to grab an A2 base, and this is just one I made myself. I like to make my own card bases because I use the Brutus Monroe Not Your Mama's cardstock. I think that's what it's called. Because it's 100-pound weight, so it scores really nicely and folds really nicely. Yes. So let me grab a card base, and I have my scoreboard right here, and I'll show you guys how I scored this base. Okay, let me take this off the screen here. Okay, so back to it. So like I said, this is just an A2 card base. For me, I found that much easier than trying to cut and measure and get everything correct. I'm not a math person by any means, so the easier for me, the better it is. So let me move this stuff out of the way here. Got my card base. So a Zoyfold basically is a Z fold with a little twist. And that is going to be, so you have your fold, you're going to have another smaller card on the inside. And what I like to do is like put my sentiment, I'm just going to use this one for an example, to cover up where I'm gluing the extra little flap. So that way it comes across like that. Which I could probably make this into one of my squares, but I don't know. Okay, so this is just a standard side folding A2 card base. So it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That math is easy for me. And then I'm going to grab my scoreboard and I'm going to open this up and I'm going to score it at 2 1/8. And I like these little scoring tools because I can really kind of get in there and not mess it up. And this is just the quickest way for me to make something like this. And I do go over it a couple times because it is such a thick cardstock. I want to make sure I get a really good crease in here. So move that guy out of the way. And you're just going to, I like to close it and then fold it back over on itself. So that way you have your Z fold in there. Now for the other little square, the other little card, I believe I cut this at 5 1/2 by 3. So that way I have a decent enough room, decent enough space to either put a sentiment or a little character or, you know, whatever you kind of want in there. So while I was figuring out my measurements, I use my creative companion to go in and kind of like sketch out my card base. So I've already done that here. So I like the little dotted lines. So what I did was I just took my T-ruler and went ahead and cut it out, or drew it out so that I had an idea of where I kind of wanted my little extra card to, or my little the other card to go. So it just made it so much easier to use that A2 card base. But it's nice because you can write your, you know, you have your parameters that are down here, and then you have all the space to be able to add in and write your ideas down on what you kind of wanted to do. So like with the Zoyfold at the top, I wrote that, you know, it is a Z fold with the smaller card on the right side and the Zoyfold on the left side. So that way I knew that's what I needed to do to make my card this week. So I use that. And then once I decide on my colors, which I think what I'm going to do is use some pattern paper that I got from Pajama Crafter Stamps. And if you didn't catch the live yesterday, I am now a member of their video design team, and I'm really excited about that. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, which is always makes you feel good to get that feedback. So I think what I'm going to use, since they're Easter egg colors, I'm going to go a little softer, and I think I'm going to use this and then the polka dots. So my theme is like, okay, so baseball season is upon us. I love baseball. We watch all the games. Sometimes we attend the games. It depends on if they're at home or not. We have yet to make an away game, and I would really like to do that sometime. So for this, so these are the stamps I'm going to use. I'm going to, yeah, once I die cut these out, it will kind of flow together. So, and I need to die cut out my adult sippy cup. So I'm going to cut my panels at 2 1/16. So what I like to do, because I don't math, is I will take my scoreboard and it's not on here. Actually, I think I'm just going to score them at 2. So that way I still have a little bit of a border. But I like to take just score just a little bit at that 2 mark, and then I'll score again at the 4 mark. So that's where I know where I'm going to be cutting. Then I just grab my trimmer, and now I know I can cut at those places, and it'll be at the 2. In my process, I try to look at colors and stuff first, just to keep them in line with it kind of helps me figure out what I'm going to do for my project. Like once I get my colors down, this part is like super easy. Let me make sure this is going to line up right. Yeah, it gives me just a little bit of a border. And it's going to work out well. So I'm going to do one side with this pattern, and then the second one I'm going to do with the back pattern. So if you've never done the craft roulette cards, you should check it out. It's a lot of fun. It really gets you really thinking outside the box. I've watched craft roulette for quite a long time. I just never submitted anything because, seeing everybody's projects, it's a little intimidating. But once you submit your first one, you want to keep playing along and submitting your cards. So for these panels, what I'm going to do is I'll probably take this guy on the inside, because this is where my guy is going to sit, and then my girl will sit on this side. So it just gives me just a teeny tiny little bit of a white border, so it's not just completely covered with that cardstock. And I still haven't figured out what I want to do for the inside of my card. I know I want to use, where did it go? I had one pulled out already. I moved it. Oh, it's over here. So I really like this one where it says, "When life throws you curveballs, grab a bat and swing." I think that would be really fun. Not all baseball parents, but a lot of baseball parents will add a little something extra to their cups. So I wanted to use the adult sippy cup in here, and I don't know. I may have to make my square a little bit bigger. Just kidding. I can cut that right out, and it'll be on my. Okay, just figured it out. Great. But I want to have my big sippy cup in here, and I may try to make this a shaker. I don't know if I'm going to do it on the live today, but I may try to make this a little shaker card to be on the inside. So it'll go like this. So my little cup will be here. I'll try to probably set him on that paper. Fold it, fold it. So then my sentiment then will be this whole paper, this whole sheet. So what I could do is cut these into 4 squares, like do 2 squares of this color and do 2 squares of this color. So that way that takes care of my 4 square parameter, which I think I am going to do that. Just cut them right in half. That way it doesn't seem so busy. I'm glad I cut this at the perfect size. So for the adult sippy cup, it comes with a lot of dies, but they all fit really nicely together. I always cut like a little sample of it so that I know how to put it together before I actually kind of get into it. So let me cut these down. I'm going to cut these again. I'm going to cut these at 2, just because I feel like that's going to be a lot easier to manage, and that takes care of my 4 squares. Let me see. So if I did one there. Yeah. I'm just going to cut them at 2 and see how it works. Thankfully, I have a lot of pattern paper, so if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. I want us to go this way. There we go. So there's one. Here's my second one, and then I will have perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I like when things work out well. So, and this is the Savannah Neutrals paper pack from Pajama Crafter stamps. I have all my stuff linked in my description box on both Facebook and YouTube. So for Facebook, because they only let me put so many links, it's my link tree, and in that link tree you will find all of the links and discounts and stuff that I have there. Okay, so we have our 4 squares. So that's the one parameter down. Got my Zoyfold, that's the other parameter. Easter egg colors, got those in my squares, got my sentiment. Now I just need to stamp out my people and color them, which I'm going to stamp them out, but I'm going to color them later. It takes me a long time to color, and I don't want my live to be super long because it's Sunday afternoon and I know everybody's got their own little stuff going on. So I'm going to cut out my adult sippy cup. I already have it in this teal color, which is probably one of my favorite colors. But I'm also going to cut it out of this green. So that's more of an Easter eggy type color. And I have my Empress right next to me. So it'll be pretty easy to cut them out. Now, I may also cut out. So there's a part that goes across the top here. Let me grab it off my sheet. That makes the top of the cup. Why can't I think of the word for it? What is called the Stanley. Excuse me. And then it does have all the other pieces with it. So I'm going to use this green, and then I already have some cut out of the blue. So that way I can just use them both. Actually, I may cut this top part out of I'm going to cut the top part out of a silver, so that way there's a little bit of contrast, because I don't want it to be completely blended together where you can't make out what is what. So let me grab this. I'm going to grab this little one here. And then the top of the cup, which is this little part right here, I'm going to cut out of that green as well. So let's see, that's that one. Don't remember where that was. Where did that one go? Anyways, we'll just get this cut out real quick. And what I'll probably do is ink blend a little bit just to give it some dimension. You can also use your alcohol markers to add some dimension to your cups, or to really any colored cardstock. It just kind of gives it that a little something extra. Grab my cutting mats here, get the machine turned on. And I really like the Empress because I like the magnetic mat to it. I could use like my spellbinders, but it's so much easier to just use the magnetic part of it. So let me see. I'm trying to find. I had silver cardstock that I had sitting out just for the top of that lid. Hi, welcome in. Let me find that silver cards. I mean, I got glitter cardstock here. I'll just use that instead. Because I only need a small portion of it. So I'm just going to cut a little sliver of this. Just because I need to use it up. And I am going to die cut out that sentiment just so that it's Where did it go? Oh my gosh. I've lost my die. So you'll see in a second how I kind of line this all up. Okay, so I'm gonna move this aside. I'm gonna put my cup here. So this part is going to come down here like this, and I'm going to add in my green pieces. Now I did cut out the top part and that's silver just because I wanted a little bit more of a contrast. So that is going to go right here across the top. So this all lines up really nicely. So this will come up here at the top, and then this little piece will go there. And then I think I'm going to use the blue piece that I have cut to go across. Oh, I'm in trouble sharing to Facebook. I'll pop the parameters up in just 1 second. Let's see. So here are the parameters for um, this week. So we have Zoyfold for our project, Easter eggs for colors, ceiling for element, and then our random is 4 squares. So those are our parameters for this week. I'll leave that up for a second while I get this together here. Okay. You're welcome. I know if I don't write them down, I don't remember what they are. Let's see, where did it go? Okay. So we have our cup here. There's our blue, silver. And then this little piece here will be, sits kind of right in there. So let me glue these down. And I do have another piece for the bottom. And what I might do is cut it out of this green again and just go ahead with my alcohol markers and deepen it up just a little bit because it's supposed to be the shadow underneath the cup. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start gluing these down while I'm doing that. Have you done any, submitted any cards for Craft Roulette in the gallery? Try to keep up with everybody who participates, but it's kind of hard sometimes. Remove that, and there we go. So let's get this guy glued down. Oh, that's awesome. I'm on this will be my 14th or 15th card. I've been watching Craft Roulette forever. I just never participated until fairly recently. Oh, hold on. Let's glue this little guy down first. I like using my little pickup tool for this because these pieces are kind of small. And if there's extra glue, I just kind of take my little pokey tool and just kind of swipe it away. I mean, this is going to be covered anyways by that other green piece. What do you think of this week's parameters? It's kind of glued in. I know everybody's been dreading the A9, myself included. Okay, so this is where my reverse tweezers are going to come in handy because I just can't keep. It's hard for me to get the little pieces down there. So it's the little accessories that make the cup really come to life. It's really easy to put together. Okay, so I'm going to glue this piece on. Yeah, it took me a minute to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. Sometimes the parameters they give them and I know right away what I want to do. And other times it takes me quite a couple days to figure it out. Like I don't make very many of like the Zoyfolds or the Z folds or bridge cards. Usually they're just pretty standard, like A2 size. But it makes me think outside the box, so that's always a plus. So our cup is pretty much finished. I am gonna go and um, take an alcohol marker and deepen this up a little bit because, like I said, this is supposed to be the shadow. And I might even try to find a deeper green for that, but I want to let this dry a little bit before I do that. And then I'm going to cut out this sentiment. So this is going to go on my small card. And it was really helpful to be able to take the A2 base and do it. Oh my gosh, Glenda, it is totally fine. No big deal at all. I always mess up on the time zones too. I always think that I'm late, and usually I am late, but I'm either an hour early or an hour behind. I haven't really done a whole lot so far. Just I just put my adult sippy cup together for the inside of my card. I've lost my little thing for my glue. Where did it go? So are you an hour behind me or an hour ahead of me? Because I'm in Eastern, and I can't remember. There's so many of us that are in way different time zones. Okay. Let me see. Now I'm going to cut this out. Because it's not like I don't have 10,000 dies to use to cut them out. Let me see which one. I may use the postage one, actually, if it'll fit. Which thankfully we have right here. Do I? No, I don't. Yes. Well, kind of. It's a scallop. That's not going to fit. Okay, well, that's not going to work. We'll just cut it into a square. Ah, yeah, you're an hour behind me. We will just use the trimmer to cut this into a little square. And I am going to ink blend this just to give it something so it's not so stark. I'm so glad this fits on my little card. I still may have to trim it down, but I'd rather trim down a little bit at a time than go in with a whole chunk of stuff. Okay, so this is going to... We'll just let it hang off a little bit. Yep, we'll just let it hang off a little bit. That's not a big deal. So I'm just going to glue this bad boy on here because this is going to be the inside of my little card here. So the only thing I haven't done is stamped and colored my little people because it takes me a long time to color, especially with alcohol markers. So I tend to do that. Oh gosh, I got way too much glue. That's okay. Off camera just because it saves time. And I am not like a super colorist. Like, I'm pretty basic. Okay, so there is the inside square, and that will work out good. I hope you guys are having good weather. It is so nice here today. That's why I have the door open. Which is why I'm sure you guys could hear the outside kids screaming because we live by a park. So my sippy cup is going to go. No, oh my gosh, I gotta stop calling it a sippy cup. It's going to kind of sit like this, where it's on the inside of my little square. And then when you fold it, it'll sit like this. So in a way, you got a nice little surprise when you open it up. What I'm going to do is take the little cups that they're holding and cut them out and kind of place them in the background, kind of like making my own pattern paper without using a pattern paper. And then I already cut out my 4 squares. So now I can go ahead and attach them on because I know where I want to put my people. And I was a little late today getting things because I try to make sure everything's like die cut. I try to make sure everything's colored before, but I had to order a new mat for my scan and cut, and it was supposed to. They did deliver one, and they ended up Amazon sent me a used one, so that guy had to go back. I couldn't believe that they sent me a used mat, so I reordered a new one. It was supposed to be here yesterday. So I was going to try to make a card during that live yesterday, but it wasn't here yet, and I can't fussy cut to save my life. I've told you guys I cut off parts and, limbs, and it's just not very appealing. So I'm waiting. So they were supposed to deliver it yesterday, and of course it, didn't get delivered yesterday. It's supposed to be delivered today so that I can get these cut out. Okay, so yes, she's going to sit right in between there. And then he is going to sit a little bit higher up on the second panel. So my Easter colors are these greens. My cup is blue with a little bit of green. And I've got my 4 squares. And my squares I just cut at 2 inches. I believe I did 2 by 2. So they should match pretty well. I think I need to refill my glue. That's probably the worst part of the glue, is having to refill it with it being in this little misty press, because it does take forever. So once I get my scan and cut mat, I'm going to cut out these little cups that they're holding and then place them around my card base. So we have those done. So I'm not going to be able to cut and color today because Amazon, is Amazon. Because I want to cover up this piece here. I don't like that you'll be able to see it on the base. So I don't know if I'm going to use another. I don't think I'm going to use another pattern paper. I think I'm just going to keep it to these 2 and make it pretty simple, since I have the 2 images on there. And I think I'm going to take the adult sippy cup and stamp it. Actually, I am going to do that. We're just going to do it right now. Let me get my little Misty here. I have a, oh no, is this the one that has it? One of my Misties, yes, has a sticky, this one does, has a sticky mat in it, which I really like having the sticky mats because it makes it a lot easier to stamp on without me having to use magnets. So I'm going to take the adult sippy cup and I'm going to stamp it right on top of there, right in the middle. And then I'll probably add some little sequins, some embellishments on here. Plus, I like the sticky mats because it doesn't like pull your stamp or pull your image up when you put your stamp down. Now, typically I use my VersaFine Clair, but it needs re-ink real bad, and I cannot find my re-inker. So I'm just going to use my Simon Hurley Black Widow. Yeah, I figured I need to stamp them more than once since these are brand new. Plus, this is a foam pad, so it's really. I try not to put too much pressure on it because I feel like it just gets all over the place. And I may change up this design once I get it together. But for right now, I kind of like where it's going. I'm going to set this to the side so I can clean it. So, and I'm going to glue this down. So I will probably not be live next week. I'm having surgery on the 16th to change out I have a pump for my MS, and the company went out of business. So there's nobody to come fix it if something happens to it. So yeah, there we go. There's the beginnings of my card here. Then my adult sippy cup will sit there. So kind of see it. I'm gonna put some. I believe I am gonna put some. I think some pattern paper on the background here. But this was a pretty easy parameter. I mean, like I said, I used the A2. I just used a regular A2 card base and scored it at 2 1/8, and that gave me my Z-fold, which is really nice because then I didn't have to do a lot of measurements. I am not a math person. Ask my kids; they'll tell you they don't even ask me to help with math homework, which is probably good because the way they teach math anymore is not the same as when I learned it. So until my scan and cut comes, I will so she's gonna go here, he's gonna go here, and then my adult sippy cup will go in here like that. And then I will cut out all these little cups with the scan and cut once my mat finally gets here. So I have 2 sentiments. I really like this sentiment. I should have foiled it. Joy said that you could run it through like a laminator, pretty much any hot foil machine besides, the Spellbinders hot foil plate. But like a laminator, the Mink machine, the Gina K machine, and foil that. So I'm sure it's like the laser ink that's on here. So I'm going to keep I'm gonna wait till Amazon gets here. If he comes here in time, I might pop on and go live again just to show you guys how I cut all this stuff out. But until then, this is where I'm at with my card. So if they deliver it soon, I'll pop back on and show you guys how I use it to cut out my stamps because, like I said, I don't fussy cut. I can't do it. I've tried and I cut, she would have no arm. He probably wouldn't have a leg. So, all right. Well, if that comes here shortly, like I said, I'll pop back on. If not, look for my card in the gallery. And until next time, guys, have a good rest of your day. Let's see.